Starting up. All right, there we go. We're live. It's
Live. A few minutes late, but we're live.
a few minutes late. Well, the good thing is that we didn't announce it or anything. So going forward, as far as Salient points, we're hoping to have every Monday, 10 o'clock, so people can expect it. And it's 10 o'clock on the Pacific Coast time, PST, I believe, or PT. So we're gonna do it that way on the East Coast. If you guys want to stay up till 1 a.m. or was it 11, 12? Yeah, 1 a.m. You guys can catch it. But yeah, so this is Salient Points number 25. I'm Carlos Macias. I'm your host, Carlos Macias, along with my co-host on the other side there.
Dalan Kirkwood, nice to see you all again. Hi, welcome back.
Been a while. It's been 3 weeks, but it's kind of slowed down. So that's why we're thinking, maybe we gotta get a schedule down. I know it's like sometimes we're up on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. You don't know. So we're trying to get a schedule down, and hopefully you guys can know when to expect the show when it's up on as far as podcast or YouTube, however you want to watch it. But yeah, so we got a bit of news. We kind of whittled it down. We had a it's one of the reasons why we're over here recording about 15 minutes late than what we were hoping to get it going on Monday nights. But yeah, we'll get right into it, man. I know you didn't go watch Ready Player One, right, Dalen? This past
No, I
weekend.
have not actually seen it, so do not spoil it. I'm
I will
actually going to see it as of Tuesday.
I will
So
not spoil it, but I will say just a couple little things, just so, and maybe if you have a question or not, I'm kind of interested to know what you think the movie is and what you think you're gonna go into seeing. But I will say just a few little things. I went to go watch Ready Player One. I saw it in 3D. Which is actually how you guys should watch it. I don't know if you plan on watching it in 3D, Dylan, but one of the things in the movie is the CG graphics are actually pretty good. They're actually pretty good. They're high quality stuff. I know somebody called it, it's like the benchmark PC kind of thing you should do, or that's what you should expect out of it. But yeah, the CG is pretty good. The movie is about, I don't know if you know too much about it, but it's kind of like, I would say like 65% is 70% CG, and then there's a good portion based in the real world, so you're kind of going back and forth like that. But I will say the movie is better than it deserves to be without spoiling too much. It's one of those where the book apparently was very terrible. I haven't read it. Maybe I want to go back and see what
just
all the
making me
fun.
laugh.
But yeah, apparently people thought it was terrible, and then they brought it into a movie form. Steven Spielberg directed it, and I don't know if he was originally meant to be the director, but I know he shows up as directed by Steven Spielberg. So it has definitely that Steven Spielberg touch, and I hope you're all right, Dalen. I see you moving around. Uh,
I'm fine. I'm fine. I just had to readjust myself a little bit.
got that Steven Spielberg touch to it, and it's like it's a fun movie to watch, and it does have some. I don't want to spoil it. And I think if you read any articles online, try to avoid it before you go, because I did read one that Kotaku did, and I was like, really, you guys really did spoil a big part of it. And I like how the article is disguised as sort of like, no, we're trying to give you some background. I was like, no, the movie overemphasizes where the reference comes from. So no, I didn't need Kotaku to tell me about it. But yeah, I don't read anything. Part of the fun of the movie is, of course, the references, which the book was kind of references the movie, and this movie is like Dalen the movie, as I've called it. You're gonna love this, man.
What? Dalen the movie? Good job. Oh, because it's like referencing other things to reference things.
It references all the other things left and right, and as far as that's concerned, I heard that the book was terrible at it. The movie it pushed it. How about that? It pushed it, but I know you, Dalen, some of the references on there, you're gonna just like, you're gonna enjoy it. I already know you, knowing you as a person, how you are. I want to see your review. I want to hear your review next week or whenever we
Well,
get a chance to talk about
I'll
it.
say
But
this: when it comes to references, or at least especially my references, I mainly do references in order for people to actually have a better understanding of what I'm actually talking about. So if I'm referencing something, it's just so people who don't know what I'm talking about may have something else to associate it with, like, oh,
yeah,
kind of
but you
like that. Okay, I get it.
do it all the time. You could just give us a feel. What do you feel about it? And don't just reference it to everything. And it's like,
I
just
feel like it feels like something else too. I mean, everything is actually
yeah,
based
but
on
not
most other
everything ties
things that have come
to
out.
not everything ties back to something.
Oh,
So
I didn't say that it ties to it. I just said it reminds me of it.
how about this? You're gonna enjoy yourself some Ready Player One. I
I
already know.
I I I realize this. I assume that.
Are you gonna watch it in 3D?
No. Unfortunately, I'm taking some people with
Yeah,
me,
man.
and they really don't like the 3D aspect. It hurts their eyes, so I'm gonna go
Not
watch
even.
it.
Trust me, I'm always when I go to the movies, I avoid the 3D. I'm not paying
More than 3D.
nothing. For this one, the fact that it's high, it's like I said, it's like 65% CGI graphics. So just kind of get that extra effect of the 3D. It's worth it, I would say. But yeah, so that's it. Ready Player One. There's one good reference halfway through the movie. I hope you get it. It's one of those you've seen Split, right? Split.
Oh,
If
look
you
who's
don't,
referencing now. Look who's referencing now.
no, I'm saying like it's a similar way where Split. There's sort of kind of if they tell you what the reference is, it kind of spoils the movie. You've seen Split, right? And you know it's
Yeah.
actually sort of a sequel or a prequel or whatever you want to call it. So Ready Player One, if I tell you, it's kind of set it up for it, it's gonna be terrible. But halfway through the movie, it's an incredible reference. I hope you get it. Let me know if you do, because I think it was pretty smart how they went about it.
All
So
right.
that's Ready Player One. The next thing is we'll get sort of pretty much deep into this one, or we'll give it a good amount of time. And
Now
at the
we'll give it a
very end,
second to go. We'll give it a second go. That's what we're gonna do.
at the end of the podcast, we'll kind of spoil just one of the big scenes of it. But we did play A Way Out, which is kind of basically you have to play this game co-op, and the creators went so far out to make it co-op that it actually requires you to play with someone else. And but the good thing about it is they didn't require you to actually buy another copy of the game. They said, "Here's the copy of the game." So you have this CD. You buy it. One of you and a buddy of yours buys the game. It's either the DVD copy, the PlayStation 4 copy, or the Xbox One version, or the download, and then your friend downloads the demo version of the game. And then the person that owns a copy of the game invites the other person into the game, and you can play through the whole game, which is what me and you did,
Yeah.
Dalan.
It
Right?
might be a friend code for the Xbox. Do you think it might be a friend code for the Xbox, or do you think it might
I,
still be?
I, I would think it's the same thing. I thought what the game would do is that you buy the game and they would give you a code that you give to a friend, and then they're able to buy the code, play the game or download it on your system. But I think the way they did it is kind of the best way to do it, because it's really
Yeah.
like one guy has the authentic copy of it and the other person just needs the demo, and you're authenticating it with the other person. So, but it's a cool little game. It seems like it's just sort of a breaking out of jail type of game, and you do that for probably about a third of the game, right? Without spoiling it too much, but it's about a third of the game, and then the other 2/3 of the game, you kind of are out in the world and figuring out what you're gonna do next. But what did you think about it, Dan? What did you
Well,
think about it?
I enjoyed the fact that the entire game had a clear cut goal the entire way through. And as you actually go through the game, you and whoever you're partnered up with, you literally have to make decisions together, instead of just one person could just blow through it. No, you have to work together. Just period. Like you have to actually communicate. It makes it a lot easier if you have a headset that you will talk to each other with.
Well, yeah, it's like it's kind of a requirement, man. And I know when we first started playing it, I was like, Dylan, we gotta play this game together. I'm buying it. Are you gonna play it with me? And you were kind of like, well, just play through it with the AI in certain spots. And I was like, no, there is no AI to fill in. It has to be another buddy. And it's like you're saying, you're figuring it out. You do need a headset to kind of communicate, like, well, watch out for the guard, watch out for this, or watch out for that. But for the most part, it's pretty simplistic, but it does require cooperation in the sense that it kind of does the whole. I mean, I know one of the things I mentioned to you was it's like, oh, it's kind of like Shenmue Realized. It's sort of in the vein of like there's sort of some quick time events, and there's other little aspects of it where you're kind of like a day in the life of it, and
Carlos, we
you
went
do
over this. Shenmue Realized is Yakuza. Just period. It's Yakuza.
give credit where credit is due. I've said this for the longest time. All right, Dalen. But anyway, it's A Way Out. It's pretty cool as far as like the puzzles are not too complicated, but it does require some cooperation. Like, one of us has to press R2 and the other one kind of has to press R2 at the same time. So it kind of creates that, the create opens up the next gate, if you will, or the next area. But there was some cool moments. I think they could have gone further with it, but I think they didn't want to push it too much, right? They didn't want to make it too complicated. They made it just enough to where most people can get through it.
And for the game, another thing that I actually really appreciated about it is that it's respectful of everybody's time. Being the example that you had the one person that bought the game, they're the ones that really want to play it, i.e., Carlos. Then there's the person that downloaded the demo for that person so they can play it with them.
Dalan, did I force you to play the
I
game?
said, hey! I said really wants to play it. So if I didn't ever play that game, I could have went the rest of my life being like, man, I'm good. But now that I played it, I'm good with it. It was definitely a very good game. I'd say for anybody who hasn't tried it, get a friend, go out, get $15 together for the both of you, buy the game, and enjoy the heck out of it. So it's only a couple hours. It's like what, 5-6 hours of your time.
Yeah, it's at a fair price, and I think it's actually pretty cool because there's different gameplay aspects to it too. There's there is the area where you're in the jail, so you don't have a weapon, but eventually you even drive a car, you shoot weapons, and I know you said that it's like, oh, they went all Uncharted. It's like, hold on. Uncharted is a
you made references. I made references. References were made.
And I'm not even on you on that. I'm just saying, like, you're like, oh, it's Uncharted. Uncharted is a very top-notch, very polished game. This is like an approximation of what an Uncharted is, but it's a good game. I think it's a good game. The story's pretty good. Of course, it's sort of by the numbers. It's sort of like you've seen this story in movies, but it's kind of cool to actually play through it in video game form. I think it does add to it. It spices it up a little bit, and it's it's good for you and a buddy to play. You take a week or two. I know I was kind of impatient. I was like, you're like, hey man, we're gonna go through this game in one night. I was like, I'm fine with that. I'm all right with this. $30. It's a little experience. It's about 5 or 6 hours long. But if you and a buddy played, over a month, play it an hour here, an hour there, and then you'll get
an hour here, an hour there. They will be done with the game in like a week and a half.
It's like 2 or 3 weeks, man. If you don't really got the time, it's like it'll take you like 3 or 4 weeks, an hour here, an hour there. But yeah, it's a good game. I think we didn't spoil it too much, but I definitely have something to say about sort of the ending and the way the game kind of plays out. So we'll leave that towards the end of the podcast if you guys want.
Honestly, we didn't actually say anything about the actual core of the game. We just talked about the surface of it. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like we said, it's a third of it is about you kind of break out of a jail, and then the other 2/3 you're out in the world figuring out.
Yeah, thanks for spoiling that. But other than that, there was no spoilers.
But still, they know, because I think sometimes people are like, it's just a breaking out of jail game, and it's like, no, it's
hey,
sort of
that would have been awesome though if it was just a breaking out of jail game, and then at the end of the game you're doing whatever the extra thing is outside of jail. I would have been fine with that too. But then they would have had to make more puzzles in order to break out of jail.
I think it was. I would say I think that the breakouts, it was satisfactory, and I was ready to move on.
Well, I think at some point I referenced the escape plan with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone.
So yeah, we'll kind of go more into the story at the end of the podcast, kind of after the credits, if you guys are interested. But we'll move on to what's next. Then what do we have next in the headlines?
All right, next up, being that I am myself, I have twisted my vision of this series, being that, of course, I like Assassin's Creed. Okay, period. I like Assassin's Creed. I can't say that I don't like Assassin's Creed, but it's not like Ubisoft has done the greatest job over its entire series.
What are you talking about? Set it up.
All right, I'm sorry. I was more focused on whether or not I like Assassin's Creed. Sorry about that. Okay.
What are we talking about?
All right, so we're talking about Assassin's Creed Origins and their new upcoming DLC that they decided to announce, being that they've announced a new DLC that's supposed to take place in Greece, as Origins already takes place in Egypt.
Wait, hold up.
What?
I don't think it's DLC, man. I think they're
saying it is DLC. No.
Creed. Huh.
It is DLC. Okay, so the fact is that the current Assassin's Creed Origins is in Egypt in itself, and it's already in areas that has Greek and Roman areas. So the first DLC of the game, the hidden ones, the Romans actually come and they try and take out your assassin's order. Then the second DLC that came out was the Curse of the Pharaohs. and that one's about trying to find the apple of Eden. If you actually played the original games, I know you played some of the original games, Carlos, and it wakes up an ancient pharaoh and stuff like that. But then there's this new one, which they didn't actually release too much information on it. They decided that, here, I'll even do this for you, Carlos. Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot, or I can't pronounce his name properly. He said,
I won't mess with you too much, but I think it's Guillemot.
Guillemot. Oh, he's Guillemot.
I won't mess with you too much about it. All right, but you know what? I'm trying to, but I'm just gonna believe you. I don't think that's what they were saying, but I'll just believe you that.
I'm gonna read this to you. This will tell you what happened. The CEO, I'm not going to ruin his name, so I'm just calling him the CEO. He said the goal is not automatically to come back on an annual cycle, but to come on a regular basis. We saw that it was time to give Assassin's Creed lots of time so that the developers could really work on it properly. He made it clear by saying we will be able to come out on a regular basis with DLC, but now we can't say that we're going to come out with a new game every year. So they're not even going to make a new game this year. They're just making the DLC. And as a matter of fact, this DLC is rumored to actually be dropping in fall of 2019. So they actually haven't said anything about the new game. They also actually he also made the statement about the focusing period on DLC content. I had the quote somewhere, but I seem to have misplaced that. But I.
Let's go under this assumption that it is DLC. I still don't believe. I have to investigate it myself, but
no, feel free to investigate it. It is DLC in this case, though, from the article that we both had.
The DLC set in ancient Greece, and I guess expansion. They're gonna continue with the framework of Assassin's Creed Origins, but now take you into ancient Greece. Did they mention anything about? Is it gonna be the same character or anything like that?
Yeah, it's still gonna be Bayek. You're still gonna have your wife Aya. But the part that actually confused me and actually confused a couple other people is the time period, being that if we're actually going into a Greece DLC, when the game itself takes place far after Alexander the Great and after not King Ptolemy, I can't remember his name, Ptolemy or General Ptolemy. I can't pronounce his name right now. But the fact is that it's supposed to take place after most of Alexander the Great's reign has actually passed. And now they're doing this other Greece thing. So we're thinking, what direction can they take it?
You were a fan of Origins, so if it goes to ancient Greece, would you be excited to go there, or you don't know enough about ancient Greece to kind of care? Or
actually, I'm perfectly fine with them taking to ancient Greece. My only question is, how are they going to do it? And if they do it right, I'm perfectly fine with it. Now, if they're going to do some sort of a prequel story thing, or going into the past of Bayek and see how it was before he ended up going to slay all that whole pyramid of bad guys. Spoiler alert, and killing a bunch of people.
I mean, you're supposed to say spoiler alert before you say the spoilers. They're not after the fact.
Well, it's not a big spoiler. It's like if you played Assassin's Creed or if you played this one, you know that there's a pyramid of people you need to kill. But the fact
so that's what it's gonna be. So I think they learned their lesson, right, from doing a year-to-year series. It's kind of like they took a year off for Origins, and I think it was successful. It was pretty successful. It actually sold well for them. So the next one I still don't believe it's DLC. I think it's gonna be ancient Greece and game. But if that's what you're saying, we either will get an expansion next year or something like that, right? So
so they just stopped. They took a step back. They said, "Oh, let's do something different. Maybe this will work better," and it did. And hopefully, they don't change it back to the yearly thing, because the series will get stagnant again. It happens too quickly when you start just throwing out games year after year of pretty much the same thing. At least they'll have time to create a new engine if they actually stick with making DLC for this one game.
All right. Anything else then before we move on to the next headline?
Well, do you think it's better that they're releasing games? That they're not releasing games on a yearly basis in this case? Do you think it's better for them?
I think it worked out for them. It kind of builds up the appetite for these games, where it's like, look, we're kind of take a year off, and fans are able to kind of stick to the current game, and then they get excited for the next one, and it's like, oh, it's not coming out till a couple of years, so I kind of have to wait for it instead of kind of being in that grind of you play it every year, right? There's a new one. I was like, I already played it. I mean, I for the longest time, I think the last one that I really got into was probably Black Flag. I believe that was years ago, because year after year, I'm like, I'm just not trying to keep up with it, and I'm not necessarily the way that the game is set up, where it's like, here's an open world, enjoy. I'm like, well, I mean, give me some direction, man. Give me some critical paths. Move. I think it's a good move. And I believe it's sort of, I know Ubisoft has a lot of teams to work on these different games, but for whatever reason, they don't have it set up in the way where, say, the Call of Duty series is, where they kind of rotate different. I think they rotate about 3 studios. So every third year is a new studio working on a Call of Duty game. So it sort of stays fresh. But then again, it's a first-person shooter. You kind of know what it is. You kind of just mess with the mechanics a bit, but people are happy. It's a new first-person shooter, right? It's a pretty standard genre. Whereas Assassin's Creed, maybe they feel like they have to reinvent the wheel every time, and it's just it's easier to get stagnant, I guess, the type of gameplay that it is. Like it's like if we were getting Metal Gear Solid, right, year after year. It's kind of like, oh, okay, Kojima. I mean, take your time. I mean,
yeah, for a short period we were getting that, but that was more so Konami. But that's a whole different monster. So let's don't get me started on that, man.
Yeah, and Kojima is like, oh, Metal Gear Survive is like $15, man, like less than a month after, or about a month and a half, I guess, after release, $15. So that I'll give you that'll give you a sense of how much demand there is with that of a Kojima less game, that's not directed by him. So
the best part of that game was the setup screen where you get to shoot infinite bullets with your friends.
Survive. So you're talking about like the beta, right? You haven't gotten into the game, right?
No, I saw people playing the game, and that was still the best part of the game. Even in the beta, that was the best part of the game.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it can't get cheap enough, man. I don't think I can dedicate myself to like a wave-based shooter like that or a tower defense game. So it can't get cheap enough. Even if it was $2, I'm like,
with a loosely terrible story, I'm not trying it. I'm done.
Yeah. So the next thing, and this is sort of a couple weeks ago, or it's still ongoing, I guess you could say, but Toys R Us is going out of business. I don't know if you heard. They're closing all of their 800 U.S. stores. And apparently they might be able to kind of save Canada's stores, is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that there's like a toy conglomerate. I don't know who all these companies are, but I guess they're getting together to save Toys R Us Canada. But we're here in the U.S., 800 stores are closing. Sales up to 30% is what their advertising says. But I went there, man. I don't know if they've been there recently, but it's like 10% off of things that are already overly priced. Lego is 5% off. So it's kind of like, really, I mean,
you might as well just wait a little bit longer. Wait a little bit longer.
Wait a little bit longer. It's been like 2 weeks. So what I think it is they're going to try to sell everything as expensive as they're just going to have a guy, somebody come in and I'll give you 20,000, 30,000 per store or whatever you got left, right? And they'll figure out a deal or whatever it is. But besides that, I mean, I did take my daughter to Toys R Us, and it's funny, we were kind of looking for things to buy. We didn't really find anything to buy, Dan, especially like 10%, 5%. We bought like chalk that was already cheap enough, I guess. It's funny. While we were standing in line, I asked her, "It's like, look, Lily, this is Toys R Us. Are you gonna miss this going away?" And she's like, nah. And I'm thinking, man, it's been a while, but I don't know if you have any childhood memories about it, man. But I do remember Toys R Us being like, it was always expensive. It was like Circuit City. I don't know if people remember, but you never really got any deals. You never had deals, but what it was is they had inventory and they had displays. I don't know if you remember, but they had like the Super Nintendo displays. They had the Nintendo 64 displays where you're like, oh, I can see it. And they had like clear displays of it where you could go up to it and touch it. You could play with it. And then they had a wall, which is kind of stupid now that you think about it, now that you say go to a Best Buy or whatever it is. But they had a wall of just like paper slips. So it was like a paper tag, and you were always gonna go look for the latest game, right? And if they were sold out, there was no tags. There were no pre-printed tags anymore. But if you would sometimes go up to it, it's like, this is the game I was looking for. I was looking for Battletoads or whatever it was, and I got the final ticket. And you would take that ticket to the front of the store, and they'd have all the games locked up or whatever. It's like, where's your ticket? Like, here's my ticket. Please give my game. So I don't. Do you remember Toys R Us? Do you have any like childhood memories of it?
Well, when it comes to video games, I actually had a store right down the street from my house that actually sold all the newer video games, which I was fine with. So I didn't
Oh, we're
have to go
talking
all the way to Toys R Us.
specifically. So not games, but toys.
Yeah, yeah, but I'm talking. I am getting to the fact that when I went to Toys R Us, I always did go to the video game section and check it out. And I do remember how it always had a really nice display, and all the games were way higher priced than what I was used to seeing because of my game shop down the street. So it was like every other place was cheaper. But the main reason I went to Toys R Us for two reasons and two reasons only, besides getting dragged there for like my cousins or my nephew or something like that. The only reasons that I really went is one, to test out all the new big wheels and toys. Didn't care if I was actually buying anything. I would just get on one of their cars and just roll around the store, grab a big old bouncy ball, throw it at somebody, say whatever it was. I'd be having fun with their toys because they're all out there for you to actually move around and use. And nobody that actually worked at Toys R Us actually cared that you were testing these items. And so the second reason that I would go there, because I was one of those kids, I would go there for the newest Super Soaker. That was it. I'd see a commercial on TV, be like, "Mom, it's summer. I need a Super Soaker. What are we doing sitting here? We need to go to Toys R Us." So we did Toys R Us getting one.
Yeah, so that's interesting, right? Like I don't know. Well, maybe it's just the things that like that's really all I remember Toys R Us for. I guess maybe I don't know. Maybe I wasn't that much of a toy kid. Like I didn't really have Legos, didn't really like mess with any of the action figures, whatever you want to call them, the dolls. I know people will be offended by me calling them that. But yeah, I was never into all that. Like how you were saying, it was always like I'm just going back straight to where the games are and let me pick out. Let me try to find a golden ticket here. But you didn't. So you didn't have that experience of like you're looking for a game that they usually have the inventory. They usually have it in stock. And you just got to find the ticket and take it up and receive your bounty or nothing like that.
No, I was one of those people that actually went there for a specific toy. Like my mom would be like, "Hey, Dalan, you need a new hula hoop." We'd go for a new hula hoop. I go to the hula hoop section, grab the bombest hula hoop I saw.
Master, man, you were always ready.
I was definitely ready. Then there was I wanted a new bike. I would tell my mom that I need a new bike. That didn't happen right away. But then when Christmas time came around, my dad bought me a bike, and I was like, "Yes, I love my dad. I love you, Dad."
If not for games, that you're still gonna miss it, but not necessarily for a video game thing. For
I'm gonna miss it for the toys.
Definitely the Toys R Us kid. Yeah, because I mean, other than that, it's like you're gonna go to an anemic Target or Walmart.
Anemic, man, they're on their deathbed. They're over here on they're doing pulse checks. They're doing pulse checks. They're not gonna be alive.
I think I was at a Target or Walmart or something. I was like, where's the they don't even have a standard Monopoly board, So, but yeah, Toys R Us is closing. That's a chapter closed, I guess. I mean, I don't. I really haven't been in. The last memory I guess I have of Toys R Us like 2006, man, when the Wii came out, and I wasn't able to get the pre-order from anywhere else. So I was like, ooh, Toys R Us still has pre-orders. So I went and lined up the day before. So this was like 2006, right when the Wii came out. I stood in line. I was the last one before the cutoff. I was number 32 or 33, and they're like, "Oh, you get the last Wii." So that's really the last memory, and that's like 12 years ago. So there you go. Like Toys R Us has really been out of mind for a while. Now we get all sentimental because they're shutting it down from something from when I was a youngster. But hey, maybe it's good riddance. Maybe it's good riddance.
Okay, actually, you did remind me of my last memory of Toys R Us. My last memory of Toys R Us was kind of a bad and good memory at the same time because the Toys R Us that I would go to would always close at the same time. And then the one time that I needed to go buy some rollerblades for a Christmas present, I went there like a whole hour before they were supposed to close. They were closed like 3 hours early. I was very upset about this. They said that they closed early because they didn't have enough people coming to the store.
How long ago was this? Well, so recently, I guess they've been shutting down, right?
No, this was like 2013.
Okay. What were you there for?
I was there to buy some rollerblades. It was for it was either Victoria or my goddaughter. I was trying to buy some.
I know you were a blader, right? And you're proud of this history and your
hey, skate better.
You know what? Hey! I did rollerblade as a kid too, but I like how you're like I was a blader, man. I was like, man, I never thought myself a blader. I just I happen to use rollerblades sometimes.
Yeah, I would be the one that go out, buy a Total Wax, put it on the curb, enjoy my time on it, try and find a pole somewhere and jump on
You
that
were
thing.
living that Sonic Adventure 2 life, man. I don't know if you remember that.
I do
Sonic
remember that opening.
he had the soap shoes and all that nonsense. Like he was really living hard, man. Sonic was living hard. Sonic Adventure 2 days.
I actually wanted those soap shoes, but let's not get into that. That's again another story.
I think they made an in real IRL version of them too, man. So you missed out. You got to eBay for them, find your shoe size, and you'll get yourself some soap shoes. What do we got next? What do we got next in the headlines?
Next being the fact that I have my Switch, yay. I've actually been playing it pretty well, but now there's the showcase, the Nindies Showcase, which apparently is Nintendo Indies, which I thought was just the dumbest name. It was hard enough to just look at the name.
Nindies, just
It sounds so stupid. That's definitely a kid's name, Nindies. It's like they took a 5-year-old, stuck it in front of the kid, and said, "Hey, kid, how would you pronounce this?" That kid was like, Nindies? I don't know. They were like, let's call it Nindies.
They gotta be cute about it, man. What was the showcase? So it's supposed to be a Nintendo Direct, right? But
yeah, it's like a mini Nintendo Direct about a small plethora of games that are actually new indie games that were actually going to be coming to the system.
Not just platformer games, Dylan. I know, you threw that little just platformer games. Any game.
I didn't say platformer games, did I?
Yeah, you said indie platformer games. But
indie platform games. Not platformer, platforms. They're indies.
Platform. Indie is not a platform, Dalen. They're just
it is a genre, okay? They're indie games.
I won't pick on you about that. But what games that you saw that kind of piqued your interest? Because we remember we broke down Nintendo Direct last time. It's like 30 minutes.
Yeah, we're not even going to do all that this time. We're just going to point out the games that me and you were most interested in, because I threw a couple at you, you threw a couple at me. So first one that actually came across in the update Nindies Showcase video on YouTube, by the way, if you guys haven't seen it, just type in Nindies. But for you, Carlos, Mark of the Ninja Remastered. I never actually played that game, but apparently you knew about it, I guess. What is this Mark of the Ninja? How is it?
Xbox 360 was a downloadable platformer. There you go, Dalen. Indie platformer. But it was a stealth game, and I think it's when I played, I thought it was really hard, man. So it's actually one of those, if you want true platforming and kind of pretty precise platforming, that's the game to get. Now that it's coming to the Switch, if anything, I'll probably go back and download the 360 version and get down with that because it has achievements. So the Switch version, I'm not gonna mess with it. But it is coming out on the Switch, and it's if you guys want to, I've seen people on the internet say it's a quote unquote true platformer or true stealth game. So it's very like like in Metal Gear Solid where you only you do stealth for a couple minutes and then you're like, you know what, you get caught, you're like, I'm done with this. I'm gonna just shoot it up. This one you actually have to get through it. You actually have to stealth to kind of get through a lot of the airs because you will get murdered. There is no I messed up and let me just do whatever I want. No, it's you have to stealth your way through it. I don't know. Do you want me to go into the other one I saw?
No. I'm gonna jump mine because the next one that actually came up right after that was Bomb Chicken. And I don't know if you saw I don't know if you remember seeing the video for Bomb Chicken. But Bomb Chicken was basically Bomberman with chickens. And I was thinking to myself, well, the last Bomberman game that they tried to do kind of it did this like thing in regards to people wanting it and then not wanting it.
Dylan, some people are listening to the audio version.
It did this whole rainbow thing where it went up and then it shot back down, being that people wanted it, then they didn't want it. But
as far as interest, people were really hyped on it, and then they were disappointed because
yeah, so I guess somebody decided, hey, let's make a clone of Bomberman with chickens and blowing things up really hardcore. And I was thinking to myself, having that type of game on the Switch might actually be fun. So I was like, hey, Carlos, you want to buy some Bomb Chicken with me?
I mean, I'll think about it. You can bring it over and we'll try it. There is a game that's already out on the Switch. It's called Super Bomberman. So it already exists. You already
so but it had that aspect to it. But Bomb Chicken was, I think it had more animations to it, and it looked fun.
explain yourself. So you're saying, well, you looked at it, you weren't interested in a Bomberman proper, right? But did this game, the Chicken Bomberman or whatever, did this come out for another system previously, or
No, no, it's a brand new game. So, it's a it's a clone of Bomberman again, but it's like they did that clone properly. So I might actually play it. So it looks like it's gonna be fun.
I mean, the biggest problem with Super Bomberman R is that it's sort of laggy, man, because they went into sort of like, well, I don't know if laggy, but I feel like it's not as responsive as 2D Bomberman. You know, like the best version of Bomberman is like it even has a date. They did a King of Fighters of it, like a Bomberman 94 or something like that. I had it on the Wii and it was perfect, man, because you could play up to like 5 or 6 or 8 people on it. So it was perfect, and I actually did get a whole bunch of people to play it back on the Wii for Virtual Console.
Oh, there must have been explosions everywhere.
Awesome, man. But the way they're doing it is like a pseudo 3D now, which it still plays well enough, but I don't know. I just don't feel like it's as responsive. I don't think it's as quick and nice. It doesn't feel as nice as the other ones have.
So I'm hoping this Bomb Chicken is actually at least going to step up to the mantle and be responsive and still have good animation for itself and actually do Bomberman a little bit of justice.
What's the next one, Dalan? Or do you want me to?
Well, the next one, gonna be happy for you, is Lumines Remastered coming out for the Switch. So I know you played it way more than I did, and I know you had me play it like twice, so it's very color coded, and it hurt my eyes trying to play that thing on Xbox. But how about you?
It's one of those. I already have it. I already have it on Vita. I already have it on 360. But it's cool that's coming out to the Switch. And I mean, I guess we could do the multiplayer. I mean, we'll see when it comes out. It's one of those games that is kind of like when it came out on the PSP was one of those showcase games. But it honestly isn't that good of a puzzle game. It's more really the audio visual aspect to it. Even the multiplayer, it's like we've played it. It's just like one bar and it's going back and forth, and eventually like you run out of space. So what?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you had me thinking like, man, a game they should bring back now that the Switch is touchscreen, and we're talking about puzzle games, Puzzle League.
Yeah,
bring back some puzzle.
You know what? And that's actually and I know people will think it's blasphemous, right? But to me, Planet Puzzle League's better than Tetris, man. How about that? I'll put it up there above Tetris. It's really if you don't put it above Tetris, I would at least put it on the same pedestal, the same level as the other one. So, but yeah, I mean, it's cool. These are the two standout ones for me, Luminous and Mark of the Ninja. Mark of the Ninja because it was an excellent stealth game. It's a 2D stealth game, and Luminous because it sort of was a big deal, and on PSP, and then it sort of continued on. It came out on 360, and it came out on the Vita, and now it'll be on the Nintendo system, so people get to experience it. They get to play for 25 minutes before it gets good, and they'll get a chance to do that, and they'll play multiplayer. Maybe I pick it up. I don't know. Maybe that's one. It's not a Metal Gear Survive where it doesn't matter how cheap it is. I won't pick it up. This one, if it's cheap enough, I will pick it up. So
good job.
And what else, Dalan, as far as the Nindies?
Well, I'm glad to hear you're being conservative. But this last one, for me, it didn't actually feel like an Indies game because I was so used to actually seeing them now, and I played the other two. Is they're bringing the Banner Saga 3 to the Switch. And that's a brand new game, and it's supposed to complete the trilogy of the game because these Banner Saga games are really story based, and there's like this whole deep lore. And normally, I don't care about the lore.
You do care about the lore. Let me put it to you that way. But did you play the 1 and 2 or?
I definitely played through 1. Part 2, I hadn't actually got into yet, but I know it's just as deep as part 1. Like the tactics, you got to really pay attention to what you're doing. You have to pay attention to your characters. You got to know where you're going and when you're gonna go.
You for sure care about the lore, Dalan. Now, I guess the key thing here is, you're willing to, because I think they announced Banner the 3rd chapter, the 3 or whatever they want to call it, right? Or whatever they're calling it. But but you're willing to play it on the Switch, or do you care enough about you playing it on whatever system you did? Because what did you play it on? What did you play Banner?
I played it on the PS3, and
Okay,
it is a
so you
straight
would have
up tactics game.
so you would have gotten some trophies or whatever it is. I don't know if the progress carries over. Does the progress carry over from 1 to 3, 2 to 3, or do you know?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't carry over like that.
Like, so you're willing to go into 2 and 3 on your Switch, I guess, now that it's been announced for coming out on the system.
I am, for the type of game that it is. You can play that game on mobile. It's one of those games where you could get into a match and that fight, because it's like well, it's a tactics game. It's kind of hard to describe.
It actually probably makes it perfect. And I know I played the lightest of the tactics games that
that's why I was like, I'm not sure how I can explain it to you.
Mario and Rabbids is like the lightest of the light. I understand, but I found it perfect on the Switch, man, because the battles would take a while. So it's perfect. Like, say, I know you like to watch TV and play games at the same time. I think it would be perfect on the Switch to, you probably want to focus on the story bits, but when you get into these battles, you can, watch TV or whatever it is, right? While you're playing a long battle.
Actually, no. For Banner Saga, you can't necessarily do that because they actually have story during the battles as well. And sometimes you got to like really pay attention to what just happened. And if you didn't pay attention to what just happened, one of your characters will die.
And they have like permanent death and all that stuff, I'm guessing. And then
they do have some permanent deaths, but for the most part, it's pretty easy. Or I can't say it's pretty easy, because later, as you progress through the game, it's harder and harder to keep your characters alive.
Anything else as far as the Nindies, Dalan, or we can move on?
As far as the Nindy,
you love
saying, by the way. No.
All right, say you can say the full word then. Say Nintendo
Indies for the Nintendo Indies Showcase.
How it rolls off the tongue. Nindies or Nintendo Indies,
Yeah, it rolls off the tongue fine either way. So I'm going to stick with Nintendo Indies. But there were about 15 or 20 games that were actually announced on the Nintendo Indies, and those were the main ones that I actually did care about. So. Okay. Yeah, so what do we have next on our list, Carlos?
Oh, we're going into the updates. We got to run through them pretty quick. We're already like 40 minutes in, man. So we got into some yesterday was April Fool's. That kind of came and went. I was wondering if there was any good pranks. Maybe one. Let's keep it a one. But one that was sort of semi-decent was one by Mexican video games media site Barcade VG. And they were quote unquote reporting on a new Nintendo Switch, kind of like the new Nintendo 3DS, that kind of thing. It was pretty terrible. And I think it was terrible in the sense that I was like, these guys do it all the time, whether it's April Fool's or not. But, at least they tried. It's sort of believable, I guess, if you don't really follow these guys or are not really following the industry too closely, that they would make a new Nintendo Switch, right? That they would make the next version, kind of like what they did with the 3DS. They added the second analog stick, the nubbing, the 3D nub, and they sort of kind of added the triggers and that kind of thing. So it's realistic, but that was the April Fool's. And I guess my question is, do you think that the immediacy of the internet kind of ruins April Fools? Because back in the day, EGM, I don't know if you read EGM growing up, but EGM had some good ones where it was Street Fighter 2 that you could actually unlock a character and they would put some impossible task for it's like, oh, in order for you to unlock this character, this and this, you got to do that. And they also did it successfully for Sonic and Super Smash Brothers, where they were like, you gotta get 99 kills or something like that before you get a death or something, which was impossible. And actually people did it and they sent mail into the magazine like, I can't get it. What am I doing wrong? It's like, it's kind of an April Fool's joke. And they were still getting mail. But I don't know. The internet kind of has ruined it, right? Or unless, did you see any?
No, I could say that the internet does ruin stuff, but they still have smaller things that if the company does it right, their fan base will still go out and try and do things. So I know that there was an April Fool's thing for Street Fighter where they were actually doing something similar like that. It was like last year or something like that, and people couldn't get it, and then they found out it was an April Fool's joke the next day.
But it's one of those things where like it's going to spread out, right? That it's like we know.
Well, all these April Fool's jokes are supposed to be short-lived. So even if people find out it doesn't matter, at least the joke was there and people fell for it.
But the fact that there was publication, I mean, I get what you're saying, but I kind of like the fact that there was publications out and months later get email about it. It's like, man, it wasn't true. I don't know what
It wasn't true. Why are you still on this?
we spoke about this a little earlier, a way out. We kind of discussed it, and I guess there might have been a Switch port for it, but due to the fact that the console, they were kind of deep into the development cycle, and according to programmer Lucas DeVries, he says, quote, since both players require their own camera control, it would mean that you would be forced to buy an extra pro controller to even play the game, which seems like it would be a little unfair to the concept of the Switch. It would have been quite an effort to make an automatic camera system make single Joy-Con play work. So they didn't really talk about it's the Switch. It's not powerful enough because, I mean, we played the game. It's not the most
Yeah.
graphic intensive game. It could have
No.
been doable, but they're more time about the technical aspect in the sense that, well, you're supposed to to split the Joy-Cons, but you can't control the camera. Then they would have had to, you got to have a full controller, I guess.
But speaking of the Switch,
Speaking of the Switch, Nintendo suggests not using third-party Switch docks, as it's been reported that they're breaking consoles. Nintendo
I like the way you said it. I like the way you said the freaking consoles.
I think people know if they're watching this, but breaking consoles means it renders your system unusable. So plug it into a third-party accessory, and you're gonna break your console. It's gonna make it unusable. Nintendo told Kotaku, quote, unlicensed products and accessories do not undergo Nintendo's testing and evaluation process. They might not work at all with our game systems, and they could have compatibility problems with certain games, the Nintendo Switch system itself, and other licensed accessories and peripherals. So Nintendo's not directly throwing people under the bus, but they're basically saying it's kind of like, I mean, you reap what you sow, right? Or kind of buyer beware.
Well, yeah, in this case, saying buyer beware, I wanted to actually mention specifically most of the article that I had actually seen was in regards to Nyko products, and they're really good at they're really known for making third-party accessories for their systems. But apparently, for the Nyko dock system, they would do the update to 5.0 or something like that. It would be an update for the Nyko, and it was breaking systems. So just don't do it. Just get yourself an initial one.
It kind of sucks, man, because the actual Nintendo dock situation, or its quote solution, it's bulky. Like you can't really take it anywhere, man. So I kind of have thought about getting a third party solution for that, but I mean, if it's breaking consoles, well, all it means is that one looks kind of cool. That one looks portable. Let me look at some reviews, right? Let me look at.
No, honestly, I don't even care about the fact that the I don't even care about the stand. I don't care about the dock itself. Well, okay, I don't care about the docking part of it, where it actually switches over to the TV, because I'd rather just use the actual Nintendo official dock that they give you. But what I need when I'm going out to a place is a good stand, because that little kickstand that's on the back of the screen is terrible.
It's pretty terrible. It snapped on. I think it might be by design, man. They wanted you to be able to get to that memory card easily, since it sits behind the little.
It's so frustrating to try and get that little stick out. It's so frustrating.
I understand. So next up, Dragon Quest XI, Echoes of an Elusive Age is coming to September 4, 2018 on PS4 and Steam. Not 3DS. The game, Dragon Quest XI, had been previously released in Japan July 29, 2017 on 3DS and PS4. There's a Switch version, but there's no details for now. So I know we were having a whole discussion before the show, Dalan. You were saying that what happened to 9? What happened to 10?
I was like, what happened to 9 and 10? Like, I completely missed it. But then I found out I actually did. I went back and I looked it up. I was like, oh, Dragon Quest 9 came out on the DS back in 2009 or something like that. And apparently it did okay for itself in Japan. Then eventually came to America in 2010. And then Dragon Quest 10, they had another name for that one. Dragon Quest 10, all in one package. Didn't even come out in America. So
yeah, it was an MMO. They never localized it, and I think 11. That's what they're talking about. That it's kind of like, oh, will it finally break through in the U.S.? It's like, man, you've had 11 shots at this.
Well, they did really good with Dragon Quest 8. So I don't see why.
No. I'm not talking quality, man. I'm talking just the fact that people didn't pick it up, man. Like there's plenty of quality things out there that Americans, they're not used. I mean, Shenmue realized. Prime example, Shenmue realized when Yakuza 1 came out, voices by Mark Hamill. You know, I don't even care about the voice actors, Dylan. I know that Mark Hamill
You make it sad saying that.
thing and these other like legit actors, and nobody bought it. Nobody showed up, you know? So it's one of those things where 11, they're hoping that they can, you know, get US audiences in. We'll see. I mean, they're going to have a Switch version and, you know, people, Switch users are just kind of starving for content. I mean, there's some good content, but there's going to be a big enough game where and, you know, this kind of all but kind of puts the 3DS in the grave, right? I mean, it did come out in Japan, but in the US, they're like, nah, we ain't messing with the 3DS. Just it's
Well,
the
well, really quick, the way you actually mentioned that, it makes me think that we live in a completely different age. Because back then, like 5, 7 years ago. I mean, a different gaming age, I should say. I mean, like 5, 7 years ago, people didn't want to buy those types of games. 10 years ago, they didn't really care about those types of games. And you think now you're like, man, they were ahead of their time. Because if you release those games today, like Yakuza Zero or whatever, the Yakuza Kiwami or whatever it is, people want to buy that game because they're like, oh, Yakuza coming out with all the stuff.
I think it goes back to kind of ties into this with Dragon Quest. I think Sega just enjoys the niche audience that it has for Yakuza, and it's a huge success in Japan is the thing. So they localize it, but to a certain extent, you know, they don't go all out. They don't have voice work since, I mean, and they did that quick, man. It was Sega was like, when Yakuza 2 came out, I was like, well, you guys are lucky to have it. We just voiceover, it's all in Japanese, but you know the text is in English. So Yakuza is kind of like, we're lucky to have it. I think Sega probably makes a little bit of profit on those games, but you know it's not a huge success here. Whereas in Japan, it is. It's a huge runaway success, and that's the only reason it continues to exist. With Dragon Quest 11, I think now that they're focusing, like they're not gonna even mess with the 3DS version. They're just gonna do PS4 and Switch. You know, maybe there's a chance of success, and we'll see what happens. I might mess with it. I don't know. You probably will, right? I'm sure you want more RPGs on the Switch.
I do. And what's your excuse for Dragon Quest Builders, that being the case?
Dragon Quest Builders. I mean, come on, man. You want me to build stuff? You want me to like, just give me a game. Let me play.
You ready to Minecraft this Dragon Quest? You ready to Minecraft it?
So that's coming out. We finally have a date, September 4. Next up, we have another date. A date and reveal or confirmation because it was sort of rumored for a bit. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is confirmed and coming September 14, 2018 for Xbox One, PS4, and PC. The reveal is set for April 27th. So we're going to have a bigger, you know, reveal, a video, I don't know, a trailer. But this time around, so the one of the things is I think it's sort of a big deal that it's not a timed exclusive this time around. Like Rise of the Tomb Raider was an Xbox One exclusive, so it was exclusive for a year. Then it came out on PS4, and I think this time around they were like, you know, we're not messing around. We're gonna get it out simultaneous on PS4 and Xbox One. But I think for Rise of the Tomb Raider, what happened is I think they probably needed funding, man. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten that game. And I think Microsoft stepped up, and whether it was with marketing or whatever it is, because it was marketed pretty heavily because it's an Xbox exclusive. So I think it helped out. Now I guess they kind of got some money in, and they're like, you know what, we don't need that, whether it's marketing or you know, development support or whatever it is, publishing duties. And Shadow of the Tomb Raider will be day and date with a PS4. But I know, I mean, you can talk about if you're excited about Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Dalan, or I know you did see the latest Tomb Raider film. If you want to give us a little review of what you thought, or
Well, I was going to eventually bring up the Tomb Raider film, but as for Shadow of the Tomb Raider, just I definitely played through all of the first rebooted Tomb Raider, which was an awesome thing by itself. Which it was primarily for the PlayStation, it's like the thing that I knew people bought it for. And then when I found out that Part 2, Rise of the Tomb Raider, was just coming out Xbox exclusive, that actually made a lot of people mad, especially me. I mean, before Tomb Raider was just exclusive to the PlayStation, and then when they switched that up, it just upset people.
don't forget about the Sega Saturn. And apparently, apparently the original Tomb Raider ran the best on the Saturn, man. For whatever it is, that whole archaic system and how nasty the Sega Saturn was. And I had a Sega Saturn, man, but apparently that was the best version of the game to get. But yeah, for the most part, it was known as a PlayStation exclusive series, right? And then they rebooted it successfully, and I think what happened
was
they
rebooted it terribly then they had to reboot it again successfully.
There was multiple reboots, multiple attempts, but the last like Tomb Raider is what I'm talking about. Is successful reboot of the series. Now we're like 3 games in. I guess this is like the 3rd game as far as the last reboot, you could say. And
The newest version.
I'm looking forward to a Shadow of the Tomb Raider. They haven't showed too much. But I know so the Tomb Raider movie, because I talk about it because you want to bring it up.
Yeah.
But that it follows closely to Tomb Raider, the reboot, right? Or what?
Yeah, it actually follows closely to it without doing any spoiler alerts. It still has its very survival aspect to it, and they really incorporated the story of her and her father, and of course the new guy.
What do you think of the Tomb Raider? I mean, it's not the voluptuous Angelina.
Voluptuous.
It's sort of a more modest, more maybe realistically proportioned Tomb Raider. What did you think of her acting, the way she portrayed Tomb Raider, or what did you think of it?
I had no problems with Laura Croft. I had no problems with Richard Croft. I had no problems with the extra characters in the movie. What I had a problem with was the story that they had put together for their family. That was the only thing about the movie that upset me. Other than that,
they followed it pretty close to what the game is, or did they deviate in some way, or no? It's basically
no, they definitely deviated the heck away from the game. The main part about the game that they really incorporated in the movie, which you're seeing in the trailers, is she gets on a boat to go to an island and she gets stranded and she's got to figure out a mystery.
Which is kind of the coolest part, man. It's kind of one of the coolest parts to that game, to be honest. But yeah, so thumbs up, thumbs down, Dalan, on the Tomb Raider movie. It came out a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it wasn't too long ago, but I'm still going to give it a thumbs up because even out of all the other video games adaptations that came out, this one scored. I think it scored the highest, if not the highest. I'd say Mortal Kombat is still better than it, but for a video game adaptation turned to movie, this is definitely a good version. So if you want to go see a good video game movie, Tomb Raider, this is a good one. I don't know if you want to see the Angelina Jolie one because I enjoyed that. But other people did.
I don't know if I've said it on the podcast before, but I really can't trust your critiques of movies. So
no, I know that the movies for the other two Tomb Raiders were not great, but this one was at least okay. It's
I'm not even basing it or comparing it to past Tomb Raider movies. I'm just basing it on
my reviews. Thanks.
Status, and I'll wait till it's downloadable, and even then.
By the way, Carlos, I'm gonna do this to you right now on air. I was actually speaking to my mother-in-law. She saw the movie Get Out. She said the same thing I said. It's not a great movie, but it is a good movie.
I mean, all I can say is, the guy won an Oscar. It's a great black cinema movie. And since you brought it up, or you don't like Atlanta, you don't like Get Out. I was like, damn.
Whoa! I watched all of Atlanta. You need to stop bringing that up.
What does that mean? That doesn't mean
I liked it. No, I did like it. That show was funny. I like that.
Well, hey, the new season's up, and it's just as
excellent. I know. I need to get back on it.
So you put me in the spot, put you in the spot. So the next thing on here, No Man's Sky is dropping on Xbox this summer, along with an update titled Next. Sean Murray, the Hello Games' founder, tweeted, "Coming in summer 2018 is No Man's Sky Next, a free update for PS4, PC, Xbox, and Wii game." I didn't even know he threw this in here, man. I don't know what that is. And Wii game. It's our largest update so far, and we're working our socks off. I don't know if you played in the game, Dalan, but I don't think I'm jumping back in. I don't think I'm jumping back in. Maybe you're interested, and you let me know if I should try it. But it's sort of a roguelike, procedurally generated game where there's no real focus. I'm Critical Path Carlos, so if you don't give me a path to go on, I'm done. And
that's a good nickname for yourself, Critical Path Carlos. I'm gonna start calling you that. CPC, what's up?
That's coming out, and it's one of those things where kind of people sort of made a big deal out of the fact that it's not the end. Once the game is launched, they can still update it. As you can remember, I don't know if you remember, Dalan, but Destiny was like a 6.0 game when it first released, Destiny 1, and they eventually fixed it. which Destiny 2 we're still waiting, unfortunately.
Well,
But
the problem with No Man's Sky is that they released the game with all these promises that they said that they were going to put in the game, but then when the game released, they pulled all those promises out. Like they just opened the door that where all the wires and guts for the game were, and they just tore it all out. And then they said, "Here, gamers, look at this. We brought the guts of our game. Enjoy as we throw it into the ocean."
You know what it is? I think it was one of those things where it had high expectations, man, and it just didn't meet it. And it was funny to me because I never bought it. I never bought it. And if we would have had Salient points back then, Dalan, I would have told you this. What are people excited about? Because you could tell they told you it's a procedurally generated game, and it was made by like 5 people, and people were like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be by an explorer. I'm gonna have like my own Serenity. I'm gonna have my Firefly adventures, all this other stuff. I'm gonna go from planet to planet. I'm gonna live there. I'm gonna enjoy it." I'm like, no, it's made by 5 people. How is that possible? And it's just
here's the thing, Carlos. The biggest issue with the game when it first dropped was all their lies. They lied so hard, blatantly on TV, on media. They made all these promises that definitely weren't true. Talking about we were going to have massive multiplayer, we were going to have multiple types of ships, we were going to have a whole bunch of different animals that would randomly generate on all these randomly generated planets, and they didn't have any of that. It was so desolate and so boring for so many people, where they went to a planet and they did a whole bunch of hunting and gathering.
It's like everything. I don't know if you saw. It's kind of like one of those things where it's like you gotta know when somebody's lying to you. I guess.
But you can't tell when the game hasn't released yet.
It's kind of like it's one of the stories just came out on about Steve Jobs, right? That the next generation of Apple devices are switching from an Intel chip or whatever chip they're using into in-house chip. Right. And one guy was talking about before they used to use Power PC chips, and then they moved into whatever they're using now. And a guy was able to interview Steve Jobs about it. And he was like, "Oh, you know what? I had heard that you guys were switching from this chip to another chip. Why did you tell people we were lying?" And I was like, or why did you say I was stupid to say that? And Steve Jobs was like, "No, I mean, I didn't say you were lying. I said people were going to think you were stupid when you said it. And it's true. People thought you were stupid about it because that was the information then. The information that has come out now is that, yes, you were right about it. But at the time, you were stupid about it. So you gotta know when people are lying to you, man. You got to like I said, it's 5 people were working on it. They can't make this amazing game. You're talking about a Call of Duty that's a 5-hour amazing campaign and it's made by 200 people. And you expect this amazing world faring. You're going from planet to planet, launching off and creating your own adventures. And it's going to last forever.
Hey, maybe they worked wonders. Maybe they worked on it for years on end and didn't tell nobody. But the fact is they went on TV with their straight face and lied.
Well, you know what? The hype was built up really high too. I mean, it was like launched on Jeff Keighley's show, the Video Game Awards, and then it was at the Sony press conference. So they shone a big old light on the game, and it just didn't live up to it.
Shone.
But we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
All right, moving on to the next one. What you got?
This should be an easy one. Red Faction Guerrilla remastered edition, PC, PS4, and Xbox One. It's gonna be published by THQ Nordic. There's no release date right now, but just so that there's not an exclusive on weird editions like the definitive edition.
I was about to say that.
That's coming out pretty soon. I just threw that in there because it's a remastered edition of Red Faction. I don't know if you ever played the game. It was a pretty cool open box sandbox game. You could break everything. I don't know if I'm returning to it. Dalan, the Red Faction Guerrilla.
Don't return to it. That game is so terrible compared to the original 2 Red Faction games. I'm not touching that game ever.
The next one, I know you wanted me to throw this on here, was Omen Sight. That's coming on to PS4. It's by the creators of the Path of Destiny. It's made by Spearhead Games. I don't know if you want to say something real quick about it, Dalan, or I know, I'm guessing you were a fan of Path of Destinies.
Yeah, well, the Omen Sight game, they actually listed it as a new apocalyptic action adventure, murder mystery. And I could say murder mystery because for stories, the Path of Destinies, it was this hidden gem that not a lot of people actually really talked about widely, but it was very well known, especially when I think it came out for free for the PlayStation Network at some point, or at least it was on sale for really cheap. And it's a really good game. This whole time loop of trying to actually fix the current time that you're in, because you get killed in that game. Spoiler alert, but if you get through the first like 15 minutes of the game, you find that out. But the fact being is that you're trying not to die in this game. So in Omen's site, they have a good engine already in place. You got this whole battle system that was really fun to progress through, and now you're doing a whole murder mystery thing where you're trying to change an apocalyptic event from occurring. So I'm actually down to play this game.
Omen side, is it supposed to be like a follow-up or anything like that? It's just a wholly original.
It's a wholly original, same creators. They just decided to make another platinumable game. Which, if you didn't play Path of Destinies, Carlos, I know you're how you feel about trophies. You need to get back on Path of Destiny.
If it's easy enough, then I'll mess with it. But don't.
It actually is.
Time. But that's one of the things, man. It's got to fit in this perfect equilibrium. You know, it has to not take up too much of my time. It's got to be easy enough, and it's got to be enjoyable too. You know, I can't just be spending all kinds, because there's some easy trophies, but takes you 35 hours. So, you know, I'm not down with that.
Well, you do end up having to rerun through the game in order to get different story arcs. So, other than that, it's definitely a good game in all the other aspects.
Next up, Dalan, we got this was one of our headlines, but you know, we threw it in the updates. Fortnite is making more money than PUBG, and Epic is putting forth the effort to keep it on top. You know, this is via US Gamer. Fortnite Battle Royale has more players than PUBG. It also has more Twitch viewers. It's making more money and generally has more of a presence in pop culture, especially amongst school-age kids. Super Data lays out the reasons why in a report frankly titled, Fortnite is eating PUBG's lunch. So, you know, Fortnite, you know, one of the reasons, some of the reasons, Fortnite Battle Royale is free to download. PUBG has a cost of entry. Its cartoonish graphics make it more kid-friendly, and PUBG is infamous for its problems with cheaters. Fortnite is also inescapable in pop culture thanks to shout-outs from celebrities like Drake. And also, I mean, Epic...
You actually brought up Drake.
The fun is Fortnite is... you know, Epic is taking it serious, man. They have 700 staff working on Fortnite. You know, they said we have 700 people at Epic, and it's the majority. Epic founder Tim Sweeney tells Glixel when asked how many people currently work on the breakout game, but it's a fairly unusual situation. We shipped it with 25 people, and now we're responding to the reaction. So, I mean, I don't know, Dalan, that they have 700 people now from Epic. That's a lot of people. We talked about how 200, 300 people work on a Call of Duty, man. Now we're talking about 700 people working on a mobile game. Do you think PUBG has a chance to come back from this total domination? It's basically, you know what it is? It's basically a skunk, man. At this point, they're up 7-0. But they have a chance. I don't know.
I don't know if they have a chance either. I know they're trying to survive out there. I mean, hopefully, Bluehole ends up coming up with another game that kind of gets away from the PUBG thing. Though PUBG was in itself a good idea, but then, you know, people in Fortnite, they just ran with it, and PUBG just fell behind. So when Fortnite, of course, released their game for the iOS, which is currently not out for the Android, first 3 days they made over $1 million. Which PUBG, they looked at this and said, all right, we're going to do a soft launch in English over in Canada for the Google Play, and it just hasn't worked out as well. I mean, they had to release it in Canada. I mean, this Battle Royale on the iOS is invite only, and they made over $1 million. Yeah,
it's invite only, and it just went public, actually, I believe today or yesterday. So it's really just, I mean...
No, it's been a couple of days. It's been at least 3 days.
Yeah, well, it's public now. Whatever it is, it's public now. And it was already dominating when it was invite only. So at this point, it's like, look, you're playing with fire, man. When you're putting games on mobile and they're kind of releasing back to back or a few days removed, it's you're really trying to clear the board. You're really trying to take over. It's now or never. So Fortnite, we don't, you know, we were talking about it. You know, I know for you, you're like, should we even bring that up? We don't really play it. I was like, well, I mean, we don't play it, but it's significant, man. There's like a upswing of like people are really interested in PUBG and Fortnite, and they're like, this is a battle that they're going back and forth on. And honestly, I think PUBG, it might be undermanned, man. It might be too late, but like, I think the wave has come and it's taken them over. Anything else, then, before we move on? I just, I
Nope,
just
I ain't
think
got nothing else to say on that. I'm good on that.
Epic is going hard, man. They're trying to
They're
take.
going hard.
So the next thing is God of War actually went gold as of March 22nd. And in a tweet by game director Cory Barlog, he says, "quote God of War is gold, baby. Thank you to every wonderful human who worked so hard to make this happen. Neither word nor emoji can express the love I have for you all. Next stop, April 20th. Dalan, what do you think? Are you pumped about the next God of War? It's coming out.
I'm fully down for the next God of War. So I'm like, man, the game hasn't even come out yet. They went gold. They're already plotting. They're plotting the
But do you know how
sequel
this
to the
works, Dalan? I
game.
mean, you're saying it's not even out. It went gold already. Gold means that they stamped the final disc, like it's ready to go into.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
I guess you could say it that way. But
not how you
hey,
say it. That's how it is. A game gold means it goes gold. It means that it's final. It's printed on a disc. Slap the title on it. It's ready to ship out.
I said it wrong. I apologize. I was talking about the fact that they're already talking about making a sequel to the game. That's what I was talking about. So the fact that they printed the game, they're ready to ship it. Okay, good stuff. Yes, I'm very much happy to actually wait for the game to come to my console. All right, but it's the fact that the game's got so much hype that they're already making a part 2. So
Yeah, well, I think they already had it planned, man. It's one of those things where the installments are planned way ahead of time. It's kind of like Destiny. That's why there was a Destiny 1, then there's a Destiny 2, and there's going to be a Destiny 3. It's just the investment is so high in this that they kind of set it up for success. It's kind of like when I bring up some games, they're like, "Oh, they sent that game out to die." That's what they did. That the hype wasn't strong enough. It just wasn't there, and they're like, "Sent
they
out to
sent
die."
it out with all these juggernauts of other video games, but this one is not like that.
Yeah, they don't push the promotion because a lot of times the marketing is like, say a game costs $200 million to make, right? So the marketing is going to be $200 million. So sent out to die means they spent $200 million and they do no marketing. They're just like, this thing is just uh, I don't know. Jonathan just confirmed. I think he confirmed or not, but we're gonna give him a shout out. He's the viewer out there, my brother Jonathan. Thanks for tuning in, man. We're gonna continue. We're almost done. So he just got here just when it's getting good in the update. The next thing, Days Gone pushed out of 2018. The official website lists the game's release as 2019. Sony confirmed with US Gamer saying, quote, Days Gone will now be releasing in 2019, and we will keep you updated on the launch date, end quote. Are you worried about Sony's fall release schedule, Dan? I mean, it's that was their fall game, Days Gone. I don't know if you were following it that much, but it's sort of like a zombie game.
Yeah, I know what it is. I wasn't following it too hard, but I knew it was supposed to come out.
It was more of a quick moving Last of Us, maybe not as emotional, not as good, maybe.
Actually, I think it felt to me it felt more like World War Z come to life. So for the fact that
kind of when it was launched, right? Or when it was revealed, that's kind of what it was, right? It was sort of in that way where it's like, all right, it's World War Z.
Yeah, they really promoted it as a type of World War Z game, seeing this whole flood of zombies running at you 28 days later, way too many zombies in the field. But just to hear that it gets pushed back from its fall set release time, I'm just like, I wonder how many more games they're gonna push back. They seem to have this whole slot issue.
I don't. It's probably specific to that game. They just weren't ready to bring it out. But I think it was going to be the big game for Sony. So now it's like they're kind of have to. I mean, Red Dead Redemption 2 is coming out, man, and that's like a crater. That's like a bomb, a nuclear strike on any games in the area. They're like, Red Dead Redemption, everyone better get out of the way. I don't know. Maybe it was part of Days Gone thing. It's like, we're not going up against that juggernaut, man. That's not us. That's not us that we're doing. So they moved out of the way. But God of War is already coming out in a few weeks, and then they have Detroit Become Human that's coming out in summer. So we'll have enough to play. I mean, will you miss it? I mean, I don't think I will, but we'll look forward to it.
For Days Gone, no, I'm not. I'm not gonna miss that. I'll wait for it and see if it actually does any good when it does release. I know people are waiting for it, but I'm not waiting for it.
I know something you were looking forward to, right, Dalan? The Atari finally pulled back the curtain on their previously announced Atari box. It will now be known as, quote, the Atari VCS. And according to accounts, the console is now accompanied with a modernized joystick and sleek controller reminiscent to the Xbox One's button layout and build. COO of Connected Devices, Michael Arts said, with the Atari VCS name, we know how important it is to get everything completely right, and that's why we briefly paused an imminent launch late last year. It was a difficult decision with the countdown underway, but we weren't willing to go forward with even one thing out of alignment. And I mean, I don't know. I think you're sort of excited about this, Dan. To me, this is just like a Steam box, and I don't know if you've heard about Steam recently, but they're kind of already stepping away from the Steam computers. They're like deleting stuff off their website and all that. So this feels to me like a cloud. What do they call it? Cloudware or what? Vaporware. This feels like vaporware, man. I don't know if you ever see it, but what makes you, I guess, excited, or why do you think this could be a good thing to?
Okay, well, the reason why I'm more excited about it is because when I was a kid, like when I had a Nintendo and a Super Nintendo, my parents still had an Atari. So I know what those games were like, and I enjoyed the heck out of those games. I was just talking to one of my friend's grandmothers. I was just talking to her about video games, and I brought up the Atari. She had a whole backflash of all these games that she used to play when she was younger. And then there was also the fact that I actually incorporated the Atari into my younger nephew's life. Even though he had a PlayStation 3 and a PlayStation Vita, I made sure to introduce him to the Atari. And when he played the Atari, I put a PlayStation in front of him. I put an Atari in front of him. I said, which one do you like more? He put it at the Atari. I was like, why? He's like, it's more fun. So the fact that they're actually bringing an Atari system to the modern age and still allowing you to actually play some of the older games, trying to incorporate some of the newer technology, and putting in this one, they're putting a Linux-based system in it. For the joystick that you were actually mentioning, the one thing that you didn't mention was that the joystick, there were two different types of controllers that they had. Of course, there was one where you move it, you have the one button.
The configuration, and then the new sort of current system layout, right?
Yeah, well, for the controller of the joystick, you could actually rotate the joystick as a wheel. They used to have another controller that had a little wheel on it, and they actually like incorporated it all into these other smaller pieces because technology's gotten so far.
I kind of understand what you're saying. It's kind of like it's sort of the retro play, which is sort of kind of like with the SNES Mini, the NES Mini, that kind of thing. But they're also trying to kind of make it a hybrid, right, where it's sort of a current generation system as well. But I mean, do you really want another PS4, another Xbox One? You barely have a PS4, Dalan.
Well, honestly, I don't mind it if they do it correctly. And I know they actually built the system so they could actually have it open to other types of games from other systems. Like as we recently has talked about, Tomb Raider is not going to be exclusive to the Xbox or the PS4. But I know that it's probably not going to come out of the Atari because they haven't actually released a date for this thing yet. But let's say later down the line, there are those other games that's going to come out on multiple systems. And the Atari, now they're going to have their own exclusive games again. And that's really what I'm up for. Because Atari is just the OG of video games. There are still a lot of games that are based on the games that Atari made.
I think there's a lot of nostalgia in what you say. It's kind of, and that's really
what it is. They're building on that.
Banking on, and that's why, like, to me, I'm like, you know what, just create another one, man. Just throw out a VCS Mini or something like that. And to me, it just feels kind of like vaporware. I understand what you're saying, that it's going to be Linux based, but we've had these things pop up, so it's kind of
well, they're trying to make a comeback with a full-on system.
Yeah, but you know what?
Just imagine that. What was the name of that game? What was the name of that movie that we watched? Blade Runner. Seeing the whole Atari sign plastered across a wall. I wouldn't mind seeing that in neon lights.
I'm all right on all that. This is kind of one of those. It's kind of like one of those Ouya situations. I don't know if you remember the Ouya. Hey,
I don't. It was too short-lived.
I have it somewhere. I never even plugged it in to seriously play it, man, and I backed that thing. So this feels like another Ouya situation. I mean, if it comes out and successful, of course we're gonna mess with it, right? It's gonna be another Switch, another Nintendo. But the way that it's kind of built up, and I mean, Atari has kind of been, sorry to say, but it's been in the gutter, for the longest time. So like for them to make this incredible comeback, it's like Sega. You know how much I love my Sega and my Dreamcast and that era. But if Sega were to say, we're getting back in the game, like, what are you doing, Sega? Like, what's wrong with you?
What are you doing, Sega? Just stick with video games. You're good at it.
Yes, I would like another Dreamcast. I would like another, Saturn Genesis, but you're just not gonna do it. These guys are just too powerful now. They'll just
Yeah,
take it.
unless you can come out with something super innovative, it's really hard to actually jump into the
So,
industry right now.
so we got a couple more, Dalen, and then we'll end it on our way out spoilers. Valkyria Chronicles 4, that's coming October 16, 2018 on PS4 and Xbox One. And it's supposed to come to the Switch, and it's showing on Amazon Canada's website that there's a Switch. But Sega actually told IGN that as far as October 16 is concerned, quote, that date is merely a placeholder, end quote. So
That's nasty.
don't know, man. It feels like it's one of those things. I'm sure it's gonna come out, but as far as October 16 being the thing, it's one of those. It feels like a real date, to be honest. But remember, Red Dead Redemption, that's coming out. They don't want to mess with that. Valkyria Chronicles will get stamped out immediately. So I mean, Sega says it's a placeholder date. So I don't know. Maybe they even push that into January or February, where the water's a little more calmer. Nobody's gonna come and blow them up and not be able to sell any copies of the game. But are you excited about it, Dylan? What makes you've been a fan of the series, right? I'm guessing, so you're excited about
Yeah, I think I mentioned it before. Is that I'm just a huge fan of Valkyria Chronicles 1. I played Valkyria Chronicles 2. They really veered off somewhere. Then I was like 3. Nah, I'm just gonna pass on that. Then they made whatever that Valkyria Revolutions. That's what it was. That was probably one of the worst installments of the series ever. And I'm just waiting for 4, where they go back to their roots of really making an in-depth tactics game
is
that's
that the
actually
plan?
fun.
Have they said that that's what they're doing? They're going back to its roots, going back to
Oh, I don't need to ask them whether or not that they're doing that. I don't even need to actually read up on it. Just the videos that they show, you can tell that's what they're doing.
that they care. All right, well, we'll look
Yes.
for that. I'm sure. I feel like you're gonna have a really good life on the Switch, Dylan, this next year. This is a good gaming life. I hope your real life is just as good or better, But I feel like you're gonna. I mean, you got Valkyria Chronicles 4, and then you got Banner Saga 3. Man, you're gonna have some good time on the Switch as far as RPGs or strategy RPGs are concerned. So one did on this then before we go into some the A Way Out spoilers. There's and we're Monopoly fans.
You're a Monopoly fan. I've been playing Monopoly since I was a little kid, but woo, Carlos, calm down.
Get a game of Monopoly pretty much every other day. We actually haven't played in a couple of days, so I'm feeling the itch. But apparently there's going to be a $30 Monopoly Gamer Mario Kart available at GameStop, and I believe it's already out. And Gadget says, and this is in quotes, you can choose from the Mario, Princess Peach, Luigi, and Toad Mario Kart tokens, which all have specific powers and abilities. When the Toad token player rolls a power-up boost, for instance, all players must pay them 1 coin. Aside from the tokens and power-ups, you can also purchase kart-themed properties, including Rainbow Road and Bowser's Castle. Based on this description, Dalan, this is blasphemous.
That sounds like that other one that I bought you.
We did play over Christmas. Was it over Christmas? We played Monopoly Gamer. Was it just Mario? I guess Mario.
Yeah, it was that was the thing. It was Monopoly Gamer. Mario.
With no Mario Kart or Mario at the end or whatever. So this was Monopoly Gamer Mario Kart. But that one was pretty terrible, man. It's like a super baby-fied version of Monopoly. It really, I mean, you buy properties. That's about it.
There was that weird boss battle thing that they had going on. It was just what?
It's terrible, man. It's not Monopoly, but I don't know. If you want to bring it over, Dale, if you want to get it for me for Christmas, I guess we could give this one a shot. Next.
I'd rather just get you Monopoly Mario, the Mario themed Monopoly. That's what
man. Make sure to get the speed die. So that's it. It's a long one. I mean, it's been 3 weeks since we've been live. Thanks for the 1 viewer. I believe that's still my brother there.
Thanks, Jonathan, for showing up. Shout out.
So that's it. I'm Carlos Macias for Salient Points number 25, and we're gonna see you guys. So we're making an earnest effort. I will say this: we're making an earnest effort that every Monday night, 10 p.m. we're going forward. Actually, I'm saying it, Dylan, 10 p.m. So that means we gotta both step up and be there.
Oh yeah, we're gonna try and be there on time. Hey, if we're like 5-10 minutes late, know that we will be there.
Dalan, you said try. Remember what Yoda says, man. There's either just do or do not. There is no try. So 10
okay,
p.m.
fine. maybe I will make the effort. How about that? I'm just gonna take try out of the whole system.
I make the effort. Man. We're gonna do it. So I'm Carlos Macias. We got Dalan Coker, my co-host. Thanks for joining me again this week, Dalan. And
Silence. Yeah, silence is going behind my thumbs up. You couldn't see me. Right.
So you guys, after the credits, if you're listening to the audio, then it's gonna be, after the credits, you're here to talk about Way Out. It's not too long, but so earlier in the podcast, Dalan, we talked about a Way Out. We beat the game. It was about 6-hour game. There's an interesting twist to the game, so it won't be the longest spoilers, but the twist to the game was basically you turn on each other, I guess.
And then you gotta fight each other. Oh man!
And so the two main characters actually go up against each other. It's very, and I don't know. You said it wasn't like this, but to me it was very similar. Of say like in one of the Metal Gear Solid games, you're boxing another guy, so we're kind of like tapping away at a button.
You were just. I didn't say it wasn't like it. You were just confused on which game it was. It was Metal Gear Solid 1.
So all right, I'll believe you. Metal Gear Solid 1 is kind of like you're fighting on top of a tanker, on top of a Metal Gear, or whatever the case is. So you're constantly going back and forth, which some of it is kind of cool in the game because as you know, and as we mentioned earlier, is the game has different play styles, right? So it's third person shooter, it's a racing game, and then
comic book puzzle.
So at the end, which is kind of cool, at the end, kind of the tables turn, and it's like it turns out one of the guys is an undercover cop.
Hey man, don't be spoiling the story. At least you could have just taken that out.
Spoilers. This is a Way Out spoiler.
That was a deep spoiler, though.
Spoilers, man. So it turns out one of them is undercover cops, and you're chasing the other guy. Of course, he escapes, and you do some kind of cool. There's a couple cool scenes, right, where you're chasing him in a helicopter. The other guy is in a boat. And it actually glitched out on us, which was
glitched out on you. By the way, you got murdered.
Well, we're part of the same experience, man. So it glitched out on both of us. It glitched. All right, it glitched out on me. I couldn't see. All I was a lifeless boat just kind of swinging around and going in circles. And I was like, "Damn, what's happening?" Like, "Oh man, you're chasing me. You're going after me." I was like, "What are you talking about? I'm not seeing anything." So we had to reload it. So, technical issues aside, I think the way the story flipped, it was kind of cool, I guess, in a way to extend the game. But honestly, I could have had a happy ending, or maybe they both get caught up and there's a mini let's break out of jail again or something like that, even though you already
but it definitely doesn't come out that way. It's you either get a sad ending or you get a less sad ending. But you don't even know what it is.
Yeah, both of the endings are terrible. They're and it's really based on at the very end which one of you was able to kind of tap to get to the weapon or to get to the next section of it. Which one of you won out? But it's kind of cool. We have the little one-on-one. We're kind of shooting at each other back and forth.
Oh man, we went all out. We did not care who won that match. We were really trying to kill each other.
Trying to murder you. But it's a cool game. I just think I wish it would have ended on a better note, I guess, and the endings are both kind of disappointing in my opinion. But other than that, I think it was a great game. It's just a little bit of a disappointing ending. But what about you, Dalan? Were you fine with the ending, the way it played out? And
no, I wasn't fine with the ending, honestly. I wish they had a third ending where they actually had a good ending. So I don't know if there actually is one, and we don't know about it. And if there is, we need to find that fast, because the two endings that you initially have, they're both such bad endings that you're like, no, I wish there was more to this, and I wish
Well, it kind of doesn't make sense, man. One of them is like, so the convict, the real convict, not the undercover cop, is at the very end, the cop is like, give this letter to my wife or whatever. It's like the convict hates his guts, man. He's like, he hates him. He's like completely like flipped on him, right? He's like, I hate you for this, blah, blah. And then he murdered him in cold blood. And then he's going to still deliver the letter like it does. And then he delivers it and it's stilted and it's kind of disappointing. And the other
he's still a family man and he understood that, so I get the fact that he wanted to at least do his last request. I mean, he did murder the guy and leave his child without a father.
And
So
even that one's even as trite as that one was, it still sort of made sense. But the other way around is like the other guy visits the other guy's wife and like, dude, nobody told you to do that. Like, what? I don't understand. Like, why are you?
went and told her in person. He got his butt kicked and kicked out the door.
You know, it didn't make any sense. I was like, you got the guy. I don't know what you're doing. I mean, I guess you're gonna break the news to the person, but it's like, I mean, it
Man,
just
if I was his wife, I would have slapped that guy if he walked to my house telling me that.
a way out. I guess good game overall. Just the ending, it might disappoint you a bit, but it's still
Yeah.
great game.
I
So
gotta
anyway,
say, hands down, the best part of the game to me was actually what was it? The hospital. That was my favorite part.
oh yeah, the hospital part was pretty cool, and then you got like the 2D silhouette type version where you're kind of kicking through different, which the other player doesn't, man. So it actually,
You gotta choose your characters right. You gotta choose them right.
yeah, well, I don't know if you choose them right, but because each one of you actually, it's kind of cool that each, depending on which one you pick, for the most part, you have the same gameplay opportunities, I'll call it. But there's different ones. Like I never had a 2D silhouetted fight like that. That looked kind of awesome. Like, then what are you doing over there? So I was looking at your screen for a little bit. It's like, I wish I could do that. But there's a lot of cool action bits to it, and you know, I know you like that part. The hospital scene was pretty cool, but I think I like the one-on-one. You know, I like the one-on-one where I'm trying to murder you right now. It turns into a death match in the middle of a game, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, other than
After it
that,
goes on Scarface on it.
that was a way out. That was a little review of it, and yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for joining us on Salient Points number 25. We'll see you again at 26.
At 26. Then hey, we're old enough to rent a car now, man.